Hey guys, Morgan's Maintenance. Today is going to be a review video, not so much a tool review, but a product review of something that you use alongside tools, and that is going to be a workbench. So I do want to go ahead and start out by saying Banggood reached out to me. They asked me if they could send me this workbench, so I didn't pay for it. They sent it to me for free. I am going to mark it paid promotion, but however, they're not paying me in any way. I'm not committed to say certain things about it. I'm allowed to give my honest review and all those kinds of things. So that's what this video is going to be about. But also I wanted to go ahead and get it because I feel like for the price point, it's a pretty good deal. The one that they sent me is the WB0101-Plus. That is the 48-inch model with the 2 shelves and also a pegboard. Normal price on it's $250. Whenever I went to look it up, it was actually on sale for I think $225 right now. But they do also offer a 60-inch model, I think for $299. And whenever you compare that and you go to Husky at Home Depot and things like that, and you look for something that's similar with adjustable height and all those things, it's typically this is going to be cheaper than those. So that's why I decided to get this, because I felt like the build quality was going to be good based upon some videos like Tools and Tactics. He doesn't have this exact model, but it's the same exact company that sent him one. So I wanted to go ahead and give it a go. That way, if any of you are in the market for a workbench, you'll get to see the assembly. You'll also get my feedback on it, get to see it in person, see it kind of set up, see if that's going to work for you. That's the idea behind this video. So again, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. We're going to get it out of the box. I'm going to assemble it, give you the instructions on how to assemble those things. And if you're here and you're not interested in seeing any of that, you just kind of want to see the finished product and get my thoughts, I will put a chapter down below. You can skip ahead and go to that. But let's go ahead and jump into the assembly. So I'm going to start out by saying that this thing is pretty heavy. It does say it's heavy duty anyways, but it does say team lift on it for your safety. So you would want to have 2 people to install this. I'm not going to have that today. It also says that it's 41.6 kilograms. I don't know what that is in pounds off the top of my head. If I can think of it, I'll put it up here on the screen. So again, as we get into it and I get it out of the box, get the parts out of the box, you might want to have someone help you put this together as well. So I'm going to go ahead and work on getting it out of the box. We'll get all the pieces out and then we'll start assembling this thing. So as far as the pieces go, there's not a whole lot of pieces to it. It doesn't look like from the get-go. You've got the top, the middle shelf, all the framing and things like that. Here's the hardware box right here. You can see there's not a lot of hardware to install, so it just comes in this one small box. And then as far as tools that are required, you're going to need a Phillips screwdriver, a 19mm combination spanner, a 5mm hex key, and then an electric drill. It does say that these are not included, so none of those things are in here. So those are the tools according to that you're going to need. So I'm going to gather those together, and then we'll start putting this thing together. So step 1 says we're going to install the power socket. We're going to take number F, which is this part right here. You can see where it's going to go in there, and then the power socket goes inside of that. And then it says to attach those with M4 countersunk cross screws and then a nut as well. But I do notice that all the hardware is kind of mixed in one bag. I don't like that. I think that they could correct that, make it a little bit better, go ahead and mix up the stuff, put them in smaller bags so that you're not digging to figure out what's what on that. But we'll go ahead and get this installed. Again, just going to put this in there. Here's the small screws. Here's the lock nut that goes on the back side. It's going to be a tight fit to get your fingers in there as well. And they do provide you with a small wrench to stick on those, and then you can use your Phillips screwdriver to tighten that down. may be worth your time to find a little socket. I think it would be a little easier. But again, you're talking about a matter of minutes or seconds, not like we're adding a ton of time onto this. So that's got that installed. So next we have attach the beams. That's these cross members right here you can see is C. We're going to attach those onto both of these legs right here. So this one and that one. And we're going to do that with the M8 × 20 head bolts right there is what it says. So let's go ahead and do that. They're both labeled C, so I'm going to assume that means it doesn't really matter. One's a front or a back. They look exactly the same, so just going to line it up right there. Grab the other one as well. And now we got to figure out which one of those bolts that is. I'm going to assume it is these right here. So we're going to need 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. I've got exactly 8 of those. So again, I'm going to assume I've got the right ones right here. I don't like whenever companies give you stuff and it's not labeled in a bag. It would make it a lot easier to know for sure if you're using the right ones. And we're only using the bolts. There's no kind of lock washer or anything like that, according to the picture. I'm going to start them all. And then I've got an Allen key over here because that's what it called for. Definitely would be a lot faster if you get yourself a hex bit. And I'm going to assume that these are 5mm. So if you've got a 5mm wrench, you can put that in there, start tightening them up. Again, I'm not going to snug any of these until I get them all kind of lined up. I'm trying to just use the tools that I think most homeowners would have. Again, if you've got a electric impact or drill and you put a 5mm hex bit in it, you could obviously do this a lot faster. But I feel like most people are going to have the hex keys where they might not would have an impact and hex bits. And this is also what the instructions called for to use. So anytime I do a video like this, I try to use whatever the things are that it calls for. Basically what I'm saying is you could definitely do this a different way if you've got the right tools. So now we'll move on to step 3, which is adjust the height of the workbench. It says there's 6 height adjustment holes in the table legs. You can see those 6 holes right there. It also says that you can adjust the appropriate table height according to the personal height and working habits. The height table range is from 31.5 inches to 39 3/8. So that's the range that you have. On the adjustment on this table, we're going to basically put in those E legs and then attach those with the M8x60s. And also a self-locking nut as well. So we'll go ahead and get those put in. So by process of elimination, because I only have 8 of them, they are the longest of the bolts, and then also the 8 lock nuts that I have left. I'm just going to slide mine in and lock mine in at the highest possible point. I'm fairly tall, and again, that's just where I'm going to leave it at for now. It may need some adjustment. I will say that when you put these down in here, you got to be careful because if you drop that, you're gonna have to flip this over and get this leg out because there's nothing that kind of stops it. So again, I'm gonna put this up, line it up with those holes. Also, I'm gonna put my bolt heads on the outside of the workbench just so the extra part is not hanging on the outside, just, you know, to catch your leg or whatever it might be. Sliding that in. I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 through there. Looks like we're gonna use the 5mm, and then I'm sure that is where that 19mm spanner that it calls for comes in, although that's not 19mm, so unless I read that wrong, that is not the right size. So obviously that was not 19mm. I should have known that just by looking at it, but you have to get a 13mm in order to install this, to put these on. That's what that takes, or adjustable wrench, and you can use your Allen key on this side and do this if you want to. So again, 13mm wasn't called for as a tool that you would need, but you might want to make sure that you've either got that or an adjustable wrench of some kind. So that's how we're going to put those in. Again, you could either put in the Allen key over here, use a ratchet wrench like this to get that tight, or put yourself a wrench on there and then tighten it with the Allen key. So that's how we're going to put in one leg. I'll go around and put in the other 3. So step number 4 says attach the rubber wood top. I believe what they're talking about are the rubber foot pads. I don't know why it says wood top, because you can see based on the picture, we're going to be putting the foot pads on right now using the rubber feet that are included. 4 of those. It says to unscrew the 2 M12 nuts, fit the rubber pad with the metal base using those, and then secure it with those nuts. So let's go ahead and do that now. So the parts that we're using are the rubber foot and then also this metal base right here. They're just going to slide over top of each other like that and basically make your total foot. You're then going to take that long bolt, slide it through the hole up like this, and then that's where those 2 nuts are going to come into play. You're going to use one on here to help get that tightened to that base right there. And then you're going to stick this other one on so that once you get it locked into the actual thing, you can adjust the feet to level it out in case your surface isn't level. So basically you would get it to this point, then you can take this nut, tighten it against there, and that's going to lock that in, and then you can adjust each of the 4 feet once you start putting it on your floor and get that lined out. So now I'll do that on the rest of those. The instructions are not crazy clear as far as the wording, but I think if you look at the pictures, you can tend to figure it out. That's the case with a lot of this kind of stuff that you put together. I'm not going to snug these up until I actually flip this over, because I know for a fact that my floor is not level, so I will have to definitely do some adjusting. So step 5, we're going to assemble the 2-tier storage board. So that's that middle board section, D right there. Looks like we're going to put it on with 4 screws or 4 bolts. It's the M8x30. We look over here in our bag. That's basically these 4 here are the only 4 that we have left. So those are the ones that we're going to go with. So we're going to get this flipped over and go ahead and get that put on. According to the picture, this little peg right here is going to be considered the back side, and that's where we want these notches to go at. So we're going to go ahead and use that in that way. This says on here installation surface. So I'm going to assume that means to install that with the sticker down. We're going to slide this in like so. Set that in there. Now we're going to line up the holes and put our 4 bolts in there. I can see those all lining up. Again, I'm not going to tighten these all the way until I get all 4 in there. $5mm Allen wrench. This is going to be one of those, again, that would be a lot easier probably with a 5mm bit and a screwdriver. Step 6 is install the desktop, or basically the worktop, and they're going to have us flip it back upside down. It does say to put the packaging material at the bottom of the desktop to protect the desktop surface. I'm going to use 2 foam boards that I have here, so basically you could take your cardboard box, lay it down just to keep you from scratching your work surface if that's something that matters to you. And then there's going to be some pre-drilled holes, and we're going to be using all these wood screws, which are basically the screws that we have left there in the box. So I'll get it flipped over, we'll get it put on, and then we'll flip it back over and see what it looks like. Personally, me at this point, I'm not going to flip it over since I'm working by myself. It's just going to be heavy. All the holes are already pre-drilled. I'm going to put it on top right here, just like so. I'm going to line up the holes. I'm going to install it just like this right here, instead of flipping it over and then flipping it back over again to get to this point right here. So again, we're just going to find some holes. Phillips screwdriver. I'm using the M12 Impact here. I'm probably going to go ahead and put it on speed 2, just so it's not so fast. Find me a hole somewhere. Should be right in there. I'm going to line up 1 hole on this side. Get that going. Not going to snug it. Come over to the other side. Find myself a hole. It's right there. So I've already got it lined up pretty good. Yeah, I would definitely do it this way instead of flipping it back and forth. For one, you're not going to damage your top, and then you're also not going to be flipping this thing back and forth as heavy that it is. So yeah, I would definitely install it this way, especially if you're working by yourself. I wouldn't flip it back and forth. It's a heavy workbench. I wouldn't want to sit there and flip it over. Plus, you're not going to damage your top in this way. The only reason why I would flip it over is if the holes weren't already pre-drilled and you were having to try to get it all figured out. Putting pressure on the screw, it would lift up your wood. But in this scenario, I feel like this is the better way to do this. Especially, again, working by myself. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much the assembly, other than the last step, which I'll explain why I'm not going to do that in just a minute. Overall, I'd say the assembly was fairly easy. If you go by the pictures, you can get the gist of it. The wording's not 100% great. One big suggestion as far as to banggood that you could make this a little bit easier would be put the hardware in separate bags. Like each step should have its own little bag. Separate it out. It makes it so much easier to know that you're not grabbing the wrong bolt or the wrong screw. That way you're not trying to figure out which one it is that you're using. One other thing that they did miss was that you do need either an adjustable wrench or a 13mm wrench. That's to install these bolts right here on the legs. It doesn't call for that as a tool that you're going to need, but you do need something like that. And then step 7 of the assembly process, it is installing the metal pegboard. They provide you with 1, 2, 3 sheets of those. They're meant to hang on the wall right here behind it. So I'll put up a picture of what their finished product looks like. I'm not going to be installing those because this is going to be out in the middle of my garage. and I just don't have the wall space for anything like that. They do provide you the hardware to mount that. They got black lag bolts with wall anchors. One neat thing that I did think about would be if you wanted to use this, it is actually the same size as the sides right here. So if you wanted to, you could take some self-tapping screws, screw that to the side, give yourself some more metal as far as you could now put some magnetic things on here, some pegs, whatever it is that you want to use. So even if you're going to put it in the middle of your garage, that's still an option that you could use 2 of these panels, 1 on each side, in order to use those. So now let's talk about the actual workbench itself. It was very easy to level, in my opinion, with the way they've got this set up with 2 nuts down here. I was able to adjust it, and my garage floor is actually very unlevel because it's sloped in one direction for water runoff. Before this was a garage, it was just a parking spot, but it didn't take me any time to get it level. The top workbench, 20 inches wide right here, and then it should be that 48 inches in length. So this is the 48-inch version. Again, they do sell a 60-inch version as well. The top is roughly 1 1/8 inch thick, and then the bottom shelf is also 16 inches wide. Of course, it comes back like this way, and it should be that, well, it's probably a little less than 48 because it all fits on the inside. You're looking at 44 inches right there. So you also, in case you need to know if maybe you got something particular you want to sit between those two, you have roughly 13 inches of space between the bottom support right here and the top of this bottom shelf. So that's what you have. And again, full adjustability. You could move these in roughly 2-inch increments of moving this down in order to adjust the legs. I have mine at the highest setting, and I am 39 3/4 inches off of the floor. The book says that it has 31.5 to 39 3/8 adjustment. So I'm at that top range. I'm at 39 and actually 3/4, which is above that. But you've got some play on your feet adjustment, and I'm sure I've got mine up a little bit higher. So again, you've got that kind of range. So if you're a little bit shorter person, a little bit taller person, maybe you want to use it for an outfeed table for a table saw. I don't know that you'd be able to get it exactly right because you've got a 2-inch increment of change, and it's not like you can adjust it per millimeter or anything like that. Of course, you could obviously maybe drill your own holes if that's what you were going to use it for. Plenty of adjustment though, again, I think for people of different heights. As far as the structure of the table itself, I feel like it's pretty, for it being so skinny, and again, I've got it at the tallest setting, I don't have as much wiggle on it as I thought. You can kind of see my drill move a little bit there, but I feel like the steel on it, decent thickness. I mean, it's not the thickest thing in the world, but it's as thick or thicker than any of the ones that I've seen at box stores. I feel like the top is as good as any of the ones I've seen at box stores. And I can't remember exactly how much weight that it says it will hold. I will put that up here if I can find it in the description. But I'm 6 foot tall, roughly around 200 pounds. I'll go ahead and stand on it up here so you can kind of see my weight on it. And again, if I kind of bounce up and down, I don't feel like it's going to fall over even being this skinny. So overall, again, I don't know what you've looked at price-wise in the box stores. I feel like at $225 on sale right now, $250 normal price. Pretty good deal in my opinion if you're in the market for looking for a workbench. They've also got bigger ones. You know, this is a smaller one. Maybe it's not the right size for you. Maybe you want a bigger one. They also have those options as well. But again, I just got it so I could take a look at it for you guys to see if maybe some of you are out there in the market for it. Let you see what the assembly process is. Let you see what the overall build quality is, those kinds of things like that. Hopefully it helps you in some way. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. Let me know, especially if you've had one of these. I want to thank Banggood and ENJOYWOOD for sending this out to me. I really do appreciate that. I think it's going to get quite a bit of use. But as always, I hope this video was helpful in some way. You guys stay safe. I forgot 2 things before we close out this video. One is I made mention in the assembly process, but I didn't make mention in the review. They do provide you with a power strip, 4 receptacles right there. You have a cord that kind of the extra can wind up on this right here. Plug that into the wall if you want to. Get yourself some power at your worktop. And then on your worktop itself, they provide you with this here. In my opinion, it's like a giant mouse pad. It covers the entire top completely. So maybe you're working on something, you don't want to scratch your top. And this is also kind of like a non-slip type surface. So if you're working on something, you don't want stuff falling off, this might be a really good option for you. I actually really like that. So again, take those 2 considerations as far as the price as well. But now, you guys stay safe. Have a blessed day. See you on the next video.